So once you register for the Oregon Professional Educator Fair, you will receive this information from me on how to access your virtual booth and how to customize your virtual booth. And these instructions here will walk you through the entire process for accessing. So for Beaverton School District, and Lisa, I'm going to use your login information and get your booth started for you. So that's exciting. So you will just click on the link there. You will head to log in. And Lisa here. Everyone's password is OPEF 21 to begin, and then you can update your password. So when you first log into the virtual platform, it will take you to the welcome lobby here. And this is what candidates and recruiters will see on the day of the fair. And we are still customizing this, so it'll look a little bit different, but it'll have the same layout you see here. Everyone will have access to the exhibit hall. This year, we're going to have an auditorium where we will show sessions on how to rock your digital interview, how to build compelling virtual lesson plans, and classroom management. So we're excited to offer some sessions this year in addition to the fair. The exhibit hall, of course, will be where all of the booths will live. And so they will be organized alphabetically, and we have some districts that have already started building their booths. You can see Canby there, Clackamas Education Service District. So they'll be alphabetical, and candidates will be able to move using these arrows here. You can also search for a specific district that you're looking for by going to the search. And I'm going to search for Beaverton as our example here. And I have access rights to edit Beavertons. Everyone will have access rights to only edit their own booth, of course. Visit the booth, and because I'm able to edit this booth, I can go over here to edit original booth. And this will allow me to make the changes to your booth. So the options within the booth, of course, are your logo. You can add a video here, a photo here, a web link. I went ahead and already added the video that I found on your website about Beaverton. So candidates will be able to view those videos there. And you change all of this just by clicking edit. So I could put in a new logo here, and then you can edit all of the information on the sidebars here, provide any PDFs that you would normally provide at the face-to-face fair, any information that you'd pass out about the city your district's located in or the districts itself. You can upload all those PDFs here and all that information just by clicking edit again. You're able to change the person in the booth by clicking staff. So they have some preloaded ones. You can also upload your own image of your recruiting team by clicking there. You can change the color of the booth. You can change the style of the booth, all by clicking these icons here. And then if you need additional help, help is always nearby by clicking the help button, and they've been really good about being able to hop right on and help you where you're stuck. Something else I just wanted to explain real quick on the day of the fair, there's in the actual platform, because I'm in the edit version right now, but this is how it would look. There's arrows in the corners here where you can click to the next booth. So I imagine that most candidates will probably click from booth to booth this way rather than being in that large exhibit hall, and they'll go through all of the information. On the day of the fair, when you are actually in the booth and the fair is live, your recruiters will be down here in a chat box. And as candidates come into your booth, you will see their name appear in the chat box here under the booth. And so it will say, you know, Lisa with Beaverton School District, Carissa with Beaverton School District, Jane Doe with Beaverton School District, and then candidates will come in. And these recruiters will be able to click on the candidate and see their profile. So you'll be able to see their photo, you'll be able to see their resume, their licensure information, and you can start a text chat down in this chat box here. And then you can move to a private chat. And then you can also, just by clicking video chat, move to a private video chat. And that will allow you to have that one-on-one conversation screening the candidates. So that is kind of the overview of how the booth portion will work. What's really neat about the fair this year is we are going to also use the Interviewstream platform, which Joey will go into more detail, but what that will allow you to do is have video screenings of the candidates. And so how you will link that to your booth is by clicking edit. You will title it Candidate Screening Questions. And then the verbiage that you type, you would then highlight. Click on the hyperlink, and the unique hyperlink that will be provided by Interviewstream so that you only get the candidates for your district will be put in right there to hyperlink it to your candidate screening questions. Then you would click save. And that would show up, show up here hyperlinked. And so when I click on that link, it actually takes me to Beaverton School District, where your candidates will be saving their video screening questions. That is kind of the overview of how you set up the booth and how the virtual platform will work. Did you guys have any questions on this platform of the booth space before we move into how the interview, more about the interview portion and how you will go about doing these candidate screening question videos?
Yes, I do. As for the video, I saw that you put in our video. Are there size limits to the video?
There are, but it shouldn't be an issue for how you want to kind of keep the video 3 to 5 minutes because that's about the attention span that you will get for.
We were hoping to do a loop of like 10 videos that would be switched up a bit to show more of a different snapshots about the different aspects of Beaverton. We're so large, we have lots of different things we want to share with them, and so
yeah.
How would we go about doing a loop?
So I mean, you would have to put the video together, but it's just a link that you paste in there that would then show your video. Yeah.
Great. We have that. Awesome.
Yeah, and let me go again to at the editing function. So you would just click edit for the video. You can choose an image, a web link, a video. So I got your video off of YouTube, so that's why it's the embedded video link. You put the embed code there. If you chose a web link, you would put that there. Then you would click save, and then your video would show up there.
Perfect. My next question has to do with the chat feature that our recruiters will be using to chat with candidates. Are there limits to the time that they are in a video chat with a candidate? Like, let's say recruiter Annie starts chatting with candidate Joey,
Mhm.
and they go into a room together,
Mhm.
what's the time limit for that?
The time limit is 10 minutes for a
Okay.
screening chat. And the interview function that we're going to talk about is where you would move on, to a longer chat where you would actually interview the candidate.
First, ladies, I wanted to kind of take you through a little bit about Interviewstream, just so you kind of have an idea of who we are and what we work, what we do, and how we help K-12 districts. And then basically, we're going to hop into kind of the overview of how we're working in the career fair, show you guys your account, where to find the interview and questions, and the results that you get after the career fair. So I might take up a little bit more time than Aaron, but we're going to cover a lot of information, okay? Perfect, perfect. So just to start a little bit about Interviewstream. Interviewstream is an online video interviewing provider. We work in a number of different spaces, from K-12 in hiring teachers, principals, superintendents, janitorial, any position that you can think of. We are here to help supplement your process to where you guys can interview more candidates in a smaller amount of time, basically throwing a large net out and getting as many results back as possible and finding the best candidate. We also work with staffing firms, large companies, small companies. We even work in higher education, in admissions offices and their HR departments. Now, we have a number of different solutions that are available, but the only two that we're going to primarily focus on is the on-demand interview and the Interview Connect. And I'll explain the differences between these two types of interviews. But just for Interviewstream, we're just an online video interviewing provider providing tools to help supplement your recruiting process. Now, the main thing that we're going to be utilizing is our interview on demand. And that's going to be that interview link that's over on the right side of your booth, the screening questions. There we go. So basically what that is, the on-demand interview, your candidates will click on that link, fill out their information, and then they're going to see a set of 3 questions, and you can customize those questions, and they're going to answer each question within the time given. And then once they're completed, those results will go back into your Interviewstream portal. That way you guys can review them at any time in the future. So it's a great, easy way to capture candidates and their responses without you having to do a live face-to-face meeting at that exact point. Now, the other one is the Interview Connect. This is going to be that live interview, just like we're doing with Zoom, where you guys can meet with your candidates in that 30-minute window and be able to meet with them face-to-face. So those are the 2 types of interviews that we're going to cover today. So first, let's talk about the login to your new portal. Lisa, I actually set you up with an account earlier. Did you happen to receive an email activation link from Interviewstream? Oh, I think you're on mute, ma'am.
Sorry about that. Yes, I think I did. I can go click on it. Do you want me to click on it?
Oh, you don't have to. I just wanted to make sure that you
I got it.
And Carissa, I'll also set you up with an account just after today's call. My apologies, I didn't have your email on file, but I can definitely get that set up for you.
Thank you. No problem.
Perfect. And do you mind, Carissa, putting your email address in the chat box just so I can grab that?
I will do it.
Thank you, ma'am. So Lisa, Carissa, once you ladies have your accounts activated, you will just simply go to interviewstream.com, and I'll place that in the chat box just in case you ladies need it. And so once you're on our site, you'll choose the login option in the top right-hand corner. And then you'll just input your new credentials and click login, and then you'll be directed straight to your new dashboard. Now, signing up through the OPEF program, you guys are going to be part of our free trial access. So you guys will have access to your account until April 30th, 2021. So roughly about a month after the career fair has ended. If you ladies wanted to continue services after that, we can definitely have those discussions on signing up with Interviewstream. But just so you know, the account will be active until the end of April. So within Interviewstream, there's a lot of different menu options to click on, a lot of sections to go through. But for the career fair, the only area that you're really going to be concerned with is your requisitions menu. You can also think of this as your interviews menu. And I have already created, you ladies, the on-demand interview, or the screening questions, as you might call it. I've already created that interview here. And so this interview is what is already on the website that Erin showed earlier. Now, if you ladies wanted to adjust this interview, maybe change a few of the questions that we already placed in there, all you'll need to do is just click on the name of that requisition, and it's going to jump you straight to your review candidates. Right now, we don't have any candidates there just because we're not at the career fair just yet. But you'll notice at the top, you'll see your different Chevron menu options. The first one that you're going to want to click on is your questions menu. From here, you're going to see the 3 questions that we already have inputted here. Now, these are not permanent. If you ladies wanted to change these out, maybe make them more specific to Beaverton, or maybe ask questions that are related to Beaverton and not just general questions, you can certainly do that. All you would need to do is highlight the text field of one of the questions, and then just start typing in what you would rather the question say. Again, these are just general questions, but you ladies can change them at any time. And I'm just going to put that back there. There we go. And so once you have the question typed up, you'll follow it all the way to the right, and you have the ability to record this question. So maybe you want to make it more personal, give it that human touch. So Lisa or Carissa, maybe you want to record yourself presenting the question to the candidate, or maybe you record your superintendent presenting questions to the candidate. If you wanted that, you'll just click on the record option. And then we provide a number of different ways you can capture this video. So if you wanted to record it straight from your built-in webcam or external webcam, you can choose the webcam option. Or if you wanted to record it from your iPad or smartphone, you can use the mobile device. Or using the example of recording your superintendent, maybe you have that made outside the system, maybe a little bit more professional. You can always upload that video file as long as it's one of the allowed types, which are the most common ones, such as MP4, MOV, your standard video files. Now, if you did not want to record or upload a video presenting this question, you do not have to click on that, and you'll just simply leave this as a text-based question. So they'll just read it and then have the appropriate time to review it and then respond. Now, moving on to the right, you'll see that there is a prep time field. This would be the amount of time that your candidates have to review your question, gather their thoughts, and determine how they want to respond before the recording takes place. Now, we do have a number of different times to choose from 5 seconds all the way to 5 minutes. But because the career fair is going to be very fast paced and you're going to be going from candidate to candidate, you might want to limit this to about 30 seconds or maybe 15 seconds. Again, just because it's so fast paced. And then the time limit, you can choose anywhere from 30 seconds all the way up to 10 minutes. But again, fast-paced environment, I would probably recommend going about 2 minutes, maybe even 90 seconds. Because like Erin mentioned, these candidates, their attention spans won't last very long, so you want to get a quick response from them. So I would say keeping it around 90 seconds to 2 minutes of answer time. And then you'll just follow the same steps for the remaining questions. Type it in, decide if you want to record yourself, and then adjust the prep time and time limit. Now, the next section I want to bring to your attention is the welcome and goodbye messages. These do play before and after your interview. One of the great benefits of having a welcome video, and it sounds like you ladies already have this, maybe you have a promotional video over the district. I saw that one that you ladies had that was about 5 minutes long. Maybe you want that to play before the interview takes place. Again, showing the candidate more about the district. You can upload a video message, or maybe you want to type something up for them to read. You can also do a written message, maybe introducing them to the district, giving them information on the district, or maybe your core values. You can also do the written and video for your goodbye messages, and this will play after the interview has been completed. So maybe thanking them for their time, maybe an ETA when they can hear back from you. Whatever messages you want in here, you can do either a video or a written. But it's a great way to make these interviews more personal, give it that human touch, and show off your district. And so once you've gone through all the changes, you'll just click on the Save and Next in the top right-hand corner, and then it's going to take you to the Invite page. Now, when sending out this interview, traditionally, you would have two different options. You can input your candidate's information and send them an email through our system. But because this is through the career fair, we're utilizing the Invite via link. And so from here, you would just copy the link that is available and you would place it into your booth. Much like Aaron showed earlier, whenever you go to that site and you're updating the area on the right, that's where you can hyperlink in that video interview. And this link is the same one that Aaron already has in place. So really, you don't need to make changes. It's already there. If you wanted to make changes to the questions or the videos, that link will update automatically. So really, Aaron already did the work for you, putting that link into the booth. So then at that point, everything would be ready to go. And I actually do want to bring up that link really fast. There we go. And so once your candidates do complete the interview, let's say it's April 8th, the career fair is over, you can go to your review candidates and you would be able to see all the submitted screening questions that your candidates provided. So whether that's 50 candidates that stopped by your booth and completed it, all the way up to, let's say, 1,000 candidates, you would have all of their video records here, and you'd be able to review those responses in the future, and you can share them out with your superintendents, your hiring managers, whoever you wanted to see those responses. So that is a little bit, well, actually one other thing first. Let me take you through the video interview and show you how the candidates will complete this interview. So when they click here to begin those screening questions, they'll come to this page. They'll input their information, and I'm just going to put mine for today. There we go. Then we also have the ability to upload their resume. I actually did make this mandatory. That way, every candidate that does take this interview will have to see that. They also have the ability to upload a cover letter and any other documentation that is needed. From there, once they click submit, they will be taken into their virtual interview, where they'll be able to see the welcome video, if you ladies did include one, the 3 questions that were asked, and then wrapping it up with the goodbye message if there was one included. And once the interview has been completed, the candidate will receive a confirmation email, and Lisa, you will also receive your notification email that a new candidate has completed the interview. And that setting can be adjusted so you're not receiving an email for every single candidate. We can make that to where it goes out after a day or a week or a month. It's completely up to you. So that is everything about the on-demand interview, quote unquote, the screening questions that we're using. So before we talk about the live aspect, Lisa, Carissa, did you ladies have any questions for me?
I do. When you said we can share the on-demand interviews with, like, say, our superintendent or other hiring managers that maybe were not at the fair, how is it a link? Is it the actual, like, how do we share that?
Absolutely. So kind of hard to see right here, right now, but just imagine if you had, let's just say 20 candidates on the page, and you reviewed all 20 and you found the 5 that you really like and you think are the best fit. So what you would do is you'd utilize this checkbox over here on the left side of each of the candidates, And when you're ready to share, you'll click the share option, and then you can share the selected candidates. So that way you can create a link to that and copy and paste that. Or if you wanted to send out a direct email to, let's say, your superintendent, you can do that, and we'll include the links to all the candidates' interviews. So a couple of different ways you can do that. You can either email them or create a link that you can copy and paste.
And then the access to these recorded sessions from the candidates are accessible until the end of April, correct? Like after the end of April, we won't have access to like, oh, I want to go back and look at that candidate, it's gone.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Now, if you ladies did want to sign on long-term, and a couple of benefits of having that, you ladies can have as many requisitions as needed. So if you wanted to build this into your actual hiring process, maybe you have a general interview, or maybe you want to make it more specific, like custodian or teacher or HR representative or whoever that may be. You ladies can have as many requisitions as needed. Just for the free trial, there's only going to be one for the career fair. But moving forward with Interviewstream, you can have as many interviews as needed, as many users as you wish, and have access to our on-demand and live interview tools.
That was my next question. We will have about 12 to 15 recruiters with us. Who will have access to this? Is it just Carissa and I for Beaverton, or will we share this with all the other recruiters as well?
Great question, and it depends on who's working the career fair to begin with. So for your booth, Lisa, is it just you and Carissa, or are the other recruiters going to be involved?
We will have about 12 to 15 recruiters with us.
Okay, let me think, because everyone will have access after the career fair, but in terms of during the actual career fair, it might be more beneficial just for you and Carissa to have access. And then once the career fair is over, we can grant access to the additional users. That way they can log in and view all of the responses that do come in. Or if you would prefer them to have access beforehand and maybe they want to watch the interviews as they come in, we can definitely grant them access as well. But for the career fair, I would say just you two ladies for now. And then afterward, we can grant access to the rest of the team members.
I have another question for you. We have quite a few dual language programs in our district. And I'm wondering if for the on-demand questions that we're asking candidates, if we can write them in English and then also in Spanish, like side by side, if that's a possibility.
I don't think that's a possibility right now. In terms of comparing them side by side, it would just be dependent on how those are answered.
But for asking, when you're asking the question, you could ask it in both. You can record, there's an option to type it out or record yourself. So you could record yourself in both languages asking the question.
Okay. And maybe in the opener too, we could say if you are bilingual, please answer in whatever language. Okay.
Yeah, and also on top of that, if you wanted to, Carissa, when you're typing out what the question should read, maybe you want to make a separate line and type that out in Spanish. That way they have the ability to read it under that. So that might be something you want to consider when typing out the questions. You might want to list it in English and then type the translated language below that.
That was what I was getting at. That's what I meant when I asked if we could do them side by side. That's what I meant.
Absolutely.
We can type it out in English and then underneath it, type it out in Spanish so that they can see that either would be appropriate in their response. Okay,
absolutely. This space is all for you. So, and it does expand. So if you wanted to type them both up in both languages, you're more than welcome to do so. Perfect. And any other questions on the on-demand piece at the moment?
I just wanted to note the candidate screening questions. it's super cool for those candidates who maybe won't get a chance to talk to a recruiter that day, especially with, you know, some of the more popular districts. Not every candidate is able to talk to all the districts they wanted to. So they will be able to answer those screening questions. And if, you know, your recruiters didn't get a chance to talk to them, you'll still be capturing them in these saved videos. The other thing that I wanted to note with that link, we are using that link, you know, on each booth so that you can gather all of the candidate screening questions that, you know, candidates want to leave for Beaverton. But the other cool thing is that within our virtual platform, you will be able to search for candidates, and you'll be able to search by criteria that matches openings that you have. So if you are really looking for a science or math teacher, for example, you'll be able to search for candidates with that interest area, the appropriate licensure, those sorts of things. And you can directly send them that link and invite them to complete the screening questions. And then from there, looking at, you know, their on-demand interview, as it's called, the answer to the screening questions, you could then from there invite them, you know, to actually interview based on how they answer the screening questions. And then the other thing, as Joey mentioned, is both platforms you will have access to until the end of April. So you will be able to search for those candidates and invite them to complete the screening interview all the way up till the end of April, past the fair date, which is kind of cool because normally you're trying to capture everybody in that one fair date. So that's the other neat thing about these screening questions.
Absolutely. And Erin, thank you for bringing that up, because if you ladies do have that situation where you want to invite a candidate, you can go to the invite candidates that we talked about earlier, and the manually invite is how you would invite them over. So you basically type in the candidate's first name, last name, and email. Phone number is optional, so if you don't have that on file. And once you click send invites, it'll give you an email preview where you can make any changes to the email before it goes out. But once you're ready, you'll click send, and then we'll send over this screening / on-demand interview to your candidate, and they'll be able to complete it on their own time, even after the fair, or if they don't have a chance to stop by your booth, they can complete it on their own time. And Carissa, didn't mean to interrupt there. I thought you were about to ask a question, so go right ahead.
I was just thinking about something that, Erin, you just said about targeting candidates with specific endorsements.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering how do we know what their endorsements are? Is there a specific place where they have put that data in?
It will be in the candidate's profile. So, you know, when they come into your booth, you'll be able to click on their name and you'll see their profile.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Lisa, Carissa, any other questions on the on-demand / screening questions interview?
Just one more note from me. The candidate screening questions, this is included with all booths at the fair. So this will be available to everyone that has a booth at the fair. The portion that we're moving into next, the live interviews, is only available to those who purchase the interview booths at the fair.
Perfect. And great segue into that, Erin. And just as a reminder, the next portion of the live interviews is going to be relating to these interview rooms. So Lisa, Carissa, let's say you have a candidate, you really like them, and you want to do that 30-minute booking to have the actual live interview take place. And You tell, let's say you're working with Jane Doe, and you tell Jane Doe, hey, go to the live interview rooms, and I want to interview you at 10 a.m. And so from there, the candidate would click on the correct district, see the listed times, and they'll choose what time you ladies tell them. Now, all of the links that are set up here are provided by Interviewstream, and in this case, it will actually come from me. So what I'll do is I'll put together a spreadsheet. This is just an example that we're using today, but basically I will send you ladies a spreadsheet. I would recommend using something like Google Sheets where you ladies can see updates in real time, but we'll provide a column for the times listed. We'll have a candidate link available, and these will already be on the website, courtesy of Erin. We'll send this over to her to upload. And then you'll also have your hiring manager link, and they'll also have the times in which these links are created. Now, let's say you meet with Jane Doe and you really like her, and you tell her, we want to interview you at 9 a.m. So they would go to the site and click on that 9 a.m. link when it's time. Now on your ladies' end, all you would need to do is reference to this spreadsheet, find the correct link for your hiring manager, and you'll just copy this and send it over to whoever is going to be conducting that interview. You can send this via email to keep track of it, or if you're using something like Teams, you can place it in there and tell them what time to join in at. Now, once you have listed out this link, I do recommend in column E, where you have the candidate's name, just putting in what candidate is going to be interviewing at this time. So in this case, it would be Jane Doe, and you ladies can keep track of that. And so what it would look like for your candidates when they click on the link, let's say it's 10 a.m., they're ready to interview, they'll follow the link on the website, and they'll input their information. And this information will go back into your Interviewstream portal. From here, candidate will input their details, log in, and pretty much like a Zoom meeting, they'll test their hardware, make sure they have the correct audio and video listed, and then when it's time, join in, and they'll be able to meet with that hiring manager face to face. And the great thing with the hiring manager is if they wanted to record this live meeting, they can certainly do so. There would be a record option at the top of the page. And then once the meeting has concluded, that recording will go back into your Interviewstream portal, and you can view that at a later time. But the key thing is just keeping up with who you book at what time and making sure that your hiring manager has the correct link to that time. Every link for every time is unique. So if you send one hiring manager a link, they can't use the same one for a later meeting. They would have to refer to that new link that you send over. But all of these will be already on the site, and I'll also provide you with the same spreadsheet with all your links, times, everything attached. Go ahead, Lisa. I thought you had a question there.
I did. It says, do not enter links until time. So you create the links as the day goes on?
No, so we will do this in advance. And the reason I put that there is because these links, basically they're called instant links. And I'll kind of explain because I want to give you ladies a little bit of background. Our live interviews, traditionally, when you schedule them out, you're able to set the day and time in which this meeting will take place. So let's say you have a hiring manager and a candidate, and you want them to interview at 10 a.m. a week from today. You would be able to set that day and time for when that meeting will take place, who all is joining, and we traditionally send out the email for all participants. They can add it to their calendar. We provide the interviewing link, and then basically they just join in when it's time. Now, the career fair setup is a little bit different. You ladies don't really know who you're interviewing and at what time. It's all very fluid. So basically, we call these instant live links. We'll create 12 different links, all of them for the listed times. And once your candidate enters into a room like you see here, Once they input their information, that information is going to be associated with that time slot. And then that link basically becomes null and void after 24 hours. And the candidate's information will be updated on this link. So basically, once it's used, that's it. That's why they're basically called instant live meetings. So I would not recommend joining in unless it's your scheduled time. That way the links do remain active and they do correlate with your correct candidate. Does that make sense, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I just want to make sure because there's a traditional way and a way we're doing it with the career fair, and just wanted to make sure I explain both.
Joey, are you able to keep going here to show what it looks like when the candidate signs in?
Yeah, absolutely. These are all test links. So let me turn off my camera here because it's going to interfere with this one. So basically what your candidate will do is they will type up their information, and I'm just going to use a bogus email here. There we go. And so when I click on the join, it's going to ask me to test my hardware. So I'll be able to see my settings over here on the right. It does need to connect to your webcam and microphone. Once it is detected, the candidate can change their settings if needed, or if they wanted to use our dial-in option, they do have that ability. Now, once they see themselves on the camera, they are ready to go and it's time to join. They'll click on the join at the bottom of the page, and then they'll be connected with the hiring manager. If the hiring manager has not joined yet, maybe the candidate entered in a few minutes early, they will see a waiting for participants notification. And once the hiring manager does join, the candidate will be able to see them on the screen. Now, at the top of the page, we do have screen sharing capabilities. So if your hiring manager wanted to show the candidate anything, maybe a PDF or a website or anything, they can do that. And for the hiring managers only, there will be a record option here on the right. So if they did want to record that meeting, they will have the ability. And like I said earlier, if they record the live meeting, that will be stored in the Interviewstream product. So you ladies can go back and review that at a later time. But the setup of the live meeting is very similar to utilizing Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts. Pretty much the same setup where you can see each other in real time, record, screen share, and upload documentation. So far, did you ladies have any questions over the live interview portion? No? Perfect, perfect. So after that, once the meeting is over, all participants will do the leave conference. And then for the hiring manager, they're just going to wait until they have another meeting to attend and they are sent that link. And for your candidate, they'll just simply move on to their next booth. I'm assuming, I haven't done a career fair in a long time, but I'm assuming once that meeting is over, they just move on into the next booth and basically wash, rinse, repeat, taking these video interviews and making live face-to-face connections with the employers or districts and candidates in that regard. But that is basically the services that Interviewstream provides for the career fair. Again, only two of our tools, the on-demand interview and the live interview. But as I mentioned earlier, we have a number of different products available. So if you ladies did want to continue services with Interviewstream after the career fair, I would love to get you ladies signed up and actually hear about your experiences with the career fair and get you guys signed on long-term with Interviewstream. But that's everything from my end for today. Lisa, Carissa, any other questions you ladies had for me?
Not specifically for you, Joy. So I was looking at this spreadsheet that could you show us the spreadsheet again? Mm-hmm. And it's a Google sheet, which is great because we love Google Sheets. We can obviously edit this, right, to include the interviewer, the recruiter's name, so that, because we're having a bunch of people come with us and we don't want it to get messy. But I guess, you mentioned using Teams to communicate because there's going to be a need to communicate with it, with your team. Is there something that the virtual, I guess this would be a question for Erin, does the virtual event space have a chat feature for the recruiters to chat to each other within the booth, or is it just chatting with candidates?
Yeah, it wouldn't, you would have the option to chat one-on-one with another recruiter, but not in a private chat with just the recruiters. Yeah.
So if I wanted to, I could send the link one-on-one to the recruiter using the virtual event space chat. But for all recruiters to see, we'd have to use another platform like Teams or another. Okay.
Yeah, to see a chat. Yeah.
Okay. I guess they would see live time on the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet would be shared with all recruiters.
Right.
Correct? They would have access to it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, with using the Google Sheet, the recruiters would be able to see, you know, what times are still available to schedule a live interview and just go ahead and put somebody in there.
Okay. And you said 12 spots.
So I think the times are going to start at 9:30 actually, Joey.
Okay.
Because
I was like, I counted 14.
the fair doesn't start until 9, so you wouldn't have a person to interview till 9:30.
Yes, ma'am. And we'll definitely coordinate to make sure we have the correct amount of links listed. I think I just used 12 from a number we utilized earlier, but we will definitely ensure we have the correct number of interview links on there.
Okay. This is Jackie. I'm just gonna, I won't have my video on, but I wanted to say, I think we also have the links for the next day as well. So those are also going to be available. So technically it's like 18 half-hour slots per interview room. So if Beaverton has several interview rooms, they'll have that many more half-hour slots available. Does that make sense?
Yes, we typically in person, we only show up on the first day.
Some districts do the second. Some districts, it's usually the smaller districts, they will screen all the candidates on the first day and interview them the second day because they have limited amount of people to complete both. Yeah.
Because the interview space you would pay per day, right? Okay.
Yeah, and per space. So if you were going to have multiple interviews happening at one time, you would need to get 2 interview booth spaces.
And so Joey, let's say we have, let's say we purchase 2 interview spaces. Our Google Sheet would have 2 sheets.
Yes,
for
ma'am.
each space.
So if you were doing interviews on, I believe the dates are the 6th and 7th. So if you did have one on the 6th, we would have that listed out versus the ones on the 7th. And then if you had additional booths, let's say 2 or 3, we would also list those out for each booth as well.
Yeah, booth 1, here's the links. Booth 2, here's the links.
And recruiter Annie, recruiter Jim, recruiter Caroline, they could use any of the interview spaces. We don't have to have the same amount, right, as recruiters. Okay.
Yeah. And then in that regard, it would just be making sure that the recruiters are coordinating with each other, updating that sheet saying, hey, I'm taking the 10 a.m. slot, can't use it. That's just the one downside is because they're all instant. There's no way to actually track them. So that's why we're relaying the message to you guys just to make sure that they're keeping that spreadsheet up to date and not trying to utilize the same links.
And candidates, I'm just going to clarify, candidates, we could probably not chat with a candidate, but they could go ahead and leave their screening questions, correct? So we could potentially at the end of the day have a lot more people than we talk to have videos to review. Okay.
Absolutely. And that's the great thing about the on-demand. It's basically casting a net and getting as many responses and candidates as you want.
And I know this is an option, but Joey, is this an option for those participating in OPEF? Once you have those candidate screening questions and you have all those interviews, if you really like one of those people, you can directly from that on-demand interview invite them to actually interview. So you can schedule them for a live interview from that candidate screening interview. So that's
Absolutely.
kind of a neat feature.
Absolutely. And it's kind of hard to show since we don't have data on here. But just for example, let's say that Jane Doe candidate, let's say she did really well. You didn't get to meet with her during the fair, but let's say Thursday you review that file, you really like her, and maybe you want to schedule an interview with her for next Thursday. It's an easy 2-click process where you can set the day and time, who you want to join, and then send the emails out to everyone. So you guys will have access to the live interviews after the career fair up to the end of April. So you guys can schedule out more live interviews with other candidates.
So let's say we buy one interview space, we will have access to schedule live interviews till April 31st.
You will have the access to do that. The live interview space is just if you want to complete live interviews at the fair, which a lot of districts like to because they already have, the attention of the candidate. So they meet them, they're, it's going really well, everyone's excited. So they say, go to the, go interview right now. So if you want to interview them on the day of the fair, that's what the interview booth is for. You will be able to invite the screening candidates to a live interview anytime after the fair up to April 30th without purchasing an interview booth space. That interview booth space is just for interviews that you want to complete the day of.
Okay. Well, let's say we don't purchase any interview booth space. What I thought I heard Joey say was we saw candidate screening questions and we're like, wow, they did amazing. We didn't meet them, but I could then schedule an interview using Interviewstream up until April 30th, like full 30-minute. Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
Isn't that exciting?
Very convenient because then we could just get the links would send to the hiring manager and the candidate. That's very great.
Absolutely. And then if we wanted to continue services forward, I'll be here to help with those talks. And if you ladies really like what Interviewstream offers and helps with your process of screening candidates and meeting them virtually, would love to get you ladies signed up long term, but we'll definitely have those conversations in April after the fair.